NAMIC Atlanta family, Happy New Year. This is our first taping of 2024, and we have a good one for you. We have Jeff Buzzelli, the Senior Vice President of Comcast Cable, who resides over the Florida region, which is actually the #1 region, if I have it correct, Jeff, keep me honest, in Comcast Cable. So, Jeff, Happy New Year. How you been?
Doing great. It's exciting. I've been here now about 6 months in Florida, still adjusting, but it's a great place to be in the Comcast ecosystem. So excited to dialogue, and a big shout out to all my NAMIC friends.
And we appreciate it. Now, you said I am getting accustomed to my environment. How do you get accustomed to being in the #1 region and the largest cable company in definitely in the country? I'm trying to figure out subscribers. It may damn near be in the world as well.
Yeah, it's pretty big. We got about 3.5 million business and residential customers here in the Florida region for Comcast, and not a surprise for many folks. It's growing. People are moving into the state. We're building out big chunks of the state so that we can service some of these new areas, as well as even areas that historically, we're kind of underserved through grants from the state government, the Florida government. So we're really excited about that. There's just new opportunities to serve new customers that are new to Comcast.
So, I mean, you're not a stranger to leading large teams. I mean, you ran B2B for business to business for Comcast in the Central Division. I'm going to take a step back. Can you give us some highlights on your career journey to date?
Yeah, so I, from a Comcast perspective, I started 15 years ago in our Comcast business division, which, as you said, was really focused on, SMB initially, but now serves up to Fortune 500, all the segments, including government, education, all the key verticals really across the spectrum. So I was part of that organization for 14 and a half years, growing that from nothing to a $10 billion run rate business for us a year. And it was just great opportunity to help Comcast win in that space. But about 6 months ago, I had a unique opportunity where they asked me to consider coming to Florida to take over responsibility for all of our operations in Florida. As I mentioned, it's about 3.5 million customers, 4,000 employees, just a really big group and an important group for us, given all the growth opportunities that we have in the state. I just looked at it as, always being open to new career opportunities. I was like, this is fantastic. And I just couldn't pass it up. I mean, weather aside, it's 79 today and sunny and beautiful, like it is often here in Palm Beach, where my office is in West Palm Beach, by the way. But earlier in my career, I was with some of the other big telecom companies. I started in telecom at AT&T way back in the day. I worked for companies like Verizon, Level 3 Communications. So I was really on the telecom side, building out large sales and operations groups in those companies. And when I came to Comcast 15 years ago, they kind of approached me and said, look, we're building this business services group. It's brand new. We don't have this today. I just looked at it as a tremendous opportunity to be entrepreneurial and build something from the ground up. And it far exceeded my expectations. It was the best career move I ever made. A little risky at the time, because I didn't know, was Comcast really committed to this, but it goes to, taking that leap of faith sometimes, and felt really good about the leadership here and what they were telling me. And so I'm so glad that I took the opportunity to come over. I'm not going anywhere. I love Comcast. This is where I'll probably retire, and a very happy camper, but 15 years and counting.
I jokingly laughed how you casually said, yeah, I grew the business to 10 billion, but that serves as a track record that you have. I know you were in the Northeast and you were in the Central Division there in the South. Now you're handling the #1 division. What are some of the jewels, the gems that you would want to pass on that says, when you start thinking about running large teams of scales, teams that are responsible for billions of dollars of revenue to multinational organizations, what advice would you give? I would say medium, middle to upper leadership. What would be like your top 2 or 3 tidbits you'll give to them?
Well, I think, obviously getting the right people. So that was a big part of what we had to do in Comcast Business, is finding the right people that have the expertise you need. And then for me, once you get the people, it's about building the right culture, right? So you've got to build the culture. In our case, we had to build a culture of growth, a growth mindset. We had to build a culture of, that entrepreneurial spirit, because it wasn't like we were walking into a big customer base, or, we had to think about how were we going to get to point A to, point D, because we wanted to go into Fortune 500 and all these big things, but we knew we had to walk before we ran. So we started in small business, where it was closer to our residential brethren, where we could replicate services to small business customers. And then we just started building up from there. But we built the right culture, a performance culture, growth oriented culture. The other big thing that was really important was a connected culture. And what I mean by that is, we're in a matrixed environment called Comcast. We needed to leverage all of the assets of the company to help a new business group like Comcast Business succeed. And I think that's the one thing we did really, really well. We, learned from our, teammates in those other areas. We stole good ideas. We stole some people from those groups, because they had great talent that wanted to be part of this growth story, and that was great. But most importantly, we kept that competitive spirit Comcast has always had, about competing fiercely for every customer. And we built that from the ground up. And the culture, I think, in Comcast Business, there's a reason people still want to come over here every day. I hear people want to get into our Comcast Business group, and it's just terribly exciting. But I think the culture, to me, being intentional about building the right culture was really important. We had a great president, Bill Stemper, former Atlanta guy, was at Cox. He's the guy that brought me into Comcast, and I credit him a lot to that culture that we built, and people could feel it. It was strong.
When you look at the business side, meaning Comcast Business, and now you're in charge of Resi. In fact, you're really general managing the entire region.
Right.
Are there shifts and changes that you have to look conceptually in terms of how you go about managing and growing the business?
Not really. I mean, to me, it's still about the same thing, taking care of every customer, one customer at a time, doing the fundamentals, providing a reliable connection on the broadband services that we provide, making sure that our sales channels have the tools to be successful, as well as our tech and engineering teams have the tools to be successful. I think one of the biggest challenges for me is just wrapping your arms around all the different types of customers. So we have bulk customers that are in multi-dwelling unit, like apartments, condos. We have single family, we have small businesses, we have Fortune 500 companies, we have government customers, and each one of those has kind of their own unique needs. So it really is understanding your customers, being very clear and purposeful in our service delivery model. So I've been learning a lot about what we're doing here in Florida. We have the added little pressure of things called hurricanes and storms in Florida.
Couple of tornadoes.
We had one.
Yeah,
it was a month on the job, and we had a Dahlia hit through, and it kind of went north of a lot of our operations, but it did hit some of our customers. About 80,000 customers were affected, and it's a big deal here. So we practice things around employee safety and making sure that we have a really firm plan to recover as soon as the storm is over and it's safe to go meet with the electric company and get our cable services back up and working. We do that, but we have this lens of employee safety first. And so things like that you just have to understand about, the market, that I kind of understood before I got here, but I'm really getting engrossed, and the people are fantastic. If you listen to your people, you learn a lot. And I've done a lot of that. I've been traveling around we've done 6 or 7 road shows across Florida. I've been in the Panhandle, I've been in Jacksonville, I've been in South Florida, Southwest Florida, in the middle of the state near Orlando. And I've been really doing these listening sessions with our employees, and you learn a lot about the business by just asking good questions and talking to your team. And that's really helped me get up to speed quickly on the things that are most important for us to drive success in the Florida region.
You bring up an incredible point when you talk about listening to your employees. I also probably know that extends over to the customer as well. But we're coming out of an economic downturn. Some would say it was a recession. Some say no, it wasn't a recession. It was a slowdown nonetheless. And
Right.
so, when you see these types of slowdowns, sometimes people start to say to themselves, do I really need this or that or the other? Is my job safe?
You're right.
So as you're walking around and having these conversations, luckily we're starting to come out of the slowdown, but we're still there's still a malaise in some cases. How does that affect the business? How does it affect you? How does it affect your employees and the customer? And how have you, through all of the experiences, helped evolve it so that you're coming out on top?
Yeah, so great point, Charles. I mean, I heard it I clearly heard it from our employees in these listening sessions and whatnot. They were being hurt by the inflation pressure. Rents and home prices with the higher interest rates have really gone up in Florida because there's high demand on top of the natural inflation that's happening. Food prices, energy prices, insurance because of the storms, back to the severe weather, has impacted homeowners insurance in the state of Florida. For many people has gone up 2, 3, 4x what it was. And so that's a really tough one to handle. So we're clearly hearing that. We're still hearing that, by the way, the inflationary pressure. So I think clearly we hear that. We see it with our customers, where, to your point, they're having to make tough decisions about, maybe I need to get rid of my video service because I can't afford that. I'll have to stream and just live with a less perfect package, but I got to have internet. That I can't probably skimp on, but some of these other services they're looking at. With that, though, I would say there also has opened up some opportunities. We have a new mobile service called Xfinity Mobile that can save customers money. We are trying to do things and packaging things differently. We're also participating in the ACP federal program, where customers that qualify can get $30 off their broadband. They get a $30 rebate off their broadband cost every month. We have, of course, our Internet Essentials, which I know the NAMIC team is very familiar with, where we give lower price broadband services. So we've had to kind of pivot our message and make sure that we're addressing in the local communities in Florida, what things we can do to help people that are in a budget crunch, quite frankly, because I'm still seeing it here in Florida. The good news is there's all this great new opportunity and people moving in, but all that demand is putting incredible, pressure on prices. I mean, it's almost a good news, bad news story. That's the way I kind of think about it in my head. Is, it's great that we're getting all these new opportunities, but for the folks that have been in Florida, it's tough. So the other thing we've been doing as well with our employees is talking about career opportunities, career development opportunities, where they can progress in their specific function or move to another part of the business, get promoted, make more money, help their family, especially if they're mobile. And we've really talked about this with a lot of folks. If they're willing to move around the state and help us where we have needs, and we've seen that with a lot of our employee base, it's been a really good story. But it starts with sitting down with your folks, having career progression plans, career development plans with all of our team members. We have that now in Florida, and really understanding what are their career aspirations, where do they want to go. I've been very fortunate in my career, so part of what I always look at is you got to give back, right? I mentor a lot of folks. I try to help people, because what's going to happen is those folks are going to be the future leaders at Comcast. When I'm well retired and living in Florida or some retirement home somewhere, I'm going to look back and go, I worked with that person. They're fantastic. I helped in some small way, mentor them at one point, and now look at them. They're leading Comcast, or in the industry, they're a leading person in the industry. So those things get me excited. I think you got to give back and help people. But that's the best way I know that we can get through these tough economic times. To your point, I think we're starting to see a little bit of relief, but we're not out of the woods yet. And hopefully 24 is a better year, but we got to be prepared to help our employees get through these tough times.
as you were saying that, I started to think about, okay, so we made it out of um, an economical storm. Now we also have a technological storm coming in, and it's a gift and a curse. And as you were saying it and talking about how you empower the employees, some people look at the technology and say, "Oh my God, with the technology coming in, whether it be AI or or other, and high-level analytics that allows for different things." How do you guys utilize that to increase experience and understand your customer better? B, how do you also use that as a mechanism to allow for your employees to grow?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, it's funny, like we used to talk about things like going digital, then cloud computing, and now we're talking about AI because it's just such a hot topic for every large company and every company really out there right now. As we're thinking about it, it clearly is an enabler for our employees to provide better service. I mean, we are getting more information, leveraging AI about our customers so that we can better customize a package of services for those customers, make better recommendations, help the agent in the retail store or on the phone, or even our .com kind of services be more intuitive working with our customers. And so I do see a lot of benefits from it. There is obviously the counterpoint of some people being nervous about it. So we've spent a lot of time trying to educate employees about where we're using AI, where we're being careful to protect customer information, and just the integrity of all of it. So there is a balance there, but I think it is going to create incredible opportunities for our employees to deliver better service, more timely service. I look at the old days where we had to look things up and wait for the computer, and it was like, okay, hang on, my computer's running slow. And now we've got much better information at our fingertips. To your other point about opportunities, I do think it's opening up opportunities in the company, because as we're looking at these things, more, infinitely in terms of what these things can open up, there's a whole bunch of services and other things that we can do for customers. I mean, we've got some new services like our Zumo product and some of these other products that we're launching that we're going to be able to talk to customers about that I think are going to be home runs. In a big way, so that we can give people options, because I think that's the other thing with technology is people are looking for options. The day of everybody gets a cable box and they watch video through the cable box is probably not realistic anymore. And so we're seeing people that want to stream, but they still want some kind of device that pulls all the streaming services together, makes it easy, so they're not having to individually log into all these different streaming, services and try to figure out what programming is on what channel. We've got tools to do that. So we've got to talk to our customers about the technology and educate them. I think that's the other thing that's happening is, the days of it's, flavor A, B, or C are pretty much over. It literally, there's like infinite number of choices a customer when we're talking to them. And we talk to our salespeople about solution selling and really understanding their household's needs, or that small businesses needs or large businesses needs, and really putting the right package together. And I also think that's where AI can help us as well, because that kind of technology allows us to put these things together in a more cogent fashion for our customers. But it's exciting from my perspective as somebody that started my career and we didn't even use laptops or computers out in the field. We went out in the field and it was a whole different ball game in those days. To see what we can do now, it's just incredible. But we've got to make sure our folks know how to use the tools, and number two, are comfortable using the tools.
Yeah, you brought up a great point earlier about mentoring, and at NAMIC we pride ourselves on trying to get mentoring circles in place, and a lot of that is also derived by your network, right? And so the statement, your network is your net worth, etc. And as I'm listening to you and I hear the wisdom and knowledge that you're passing on, the question that I come to, especially because you're on the B2B side and then now general management, when you look at how you developed your network over time, How did it help out in your career? And then I have one or two other questions to get you out of here because I know time is crucial for you.
Yeah, no worries. I've been very fortunate in my career. I've built a really strong network of folks who have worked with me in other companies and have come over to Comcast with me. And I've reunited with some of my folks that I worked with earlier in my career. I think the way you've got to always look at it is every relationship adds a positive, brings a positive element to what you do. And so I look at it that way. I don't care if it's somebody cleaning my office, it's a salesperson, it's the executive vice president or COO. I try to treat everybody the same. I look at it as I want to build relationships. You never know who you're going to be working for. It's kind of funny, like I look at my peers now here in the Central Division. I'm one of 4 region leaders, and then we have the folks in Atlanta. And I'm working with like 3 or 4 people that I worked with 15 years ago in Chicago. I mean, it's unbelievable. If you would have told me, well, they're going to be doing this or that, you would have said, no way. And they're doing fantastic. So I look at it as you can learn from folks if you're open to spending the time and investing the time and building the relationships. The one thing, my dad always taught me was like, invest in building the relationships. Volunteer to be part of the ERG, volunteer to be part of great organizations like NAMIC, because you'll reach out, you'll meet folks that maybe are not in your immediate work group. And it's that kind of, connective tissue that's so important. And I've always taken that approach. And that's why I've joined organizations when I was in Atlanta, like TAG, which is a fantastic organization, the American Heart Association.
So you just won an award for TAG, weren't you? I know you and the mayor, didn't you guys get an award for?
It's a little embarrassing. I don't like talking about it, but thank you for that, Charles. No,
I've been embarrassed on my award, so I can share the wealth, right?
Yes.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
I was proud to be honored with the mayor and John Yates, who's a technology icon in Georgia. And Mayor Dickens is an incredible leader. He's doing a lot to, deal with the digital divide and really equity, and he's just an incredible leader from my perspective, and a big supporter of businesses like Comcast. So a great partner. But yeah, I got an award. I was the chair for 2 years, and I picked the 2 years that were COVID years. I didn't pick, I shouldn't say it that way, but it worked out where 20 and 21, I was the chair of TAG. And it was tough times, honestly. We went from an organization that did in-person events. We had to do virtual events. I mean, there was real concern about could we make the turn and could we get through COVID, because obviously being a not-for-profit, not easy to do that. And our revenue stream was immensely impacted. So they were very, very kind to give me an award. I got to come back to Atlanta, and we had a black tie event. It was great. And just to see all my friends, that is one thing I do miss about taking the job here in Florida, is I do miss the great friends and network that I built up in Atlanta.
Yeah, but the one thing that I appreciate about your career, as I've dug into it, is the fact that you were always giving back. And so I think you may have mentioned the Heart Foundation. What is it, the National? It's not Heart. It's
American Heart Association.
It is American Heart Association. Yeah. And you were responsible for the walk, if I remember correctly, in Atlanta. And so it's things like that we can sit back and say, oh, people are going to remember you for the great and wonderful things at Comcast, but they're also going to recognize the fact that you helped build a community in technology, but more importantly, you helped build a legacy that helps save lives. And for those reasons, I appreciate you being our first speaker for the year. And last but not least, get some good golfing out there. Don't, when you see that big prehistoric creature coming your way on the green, run.
Right. I'm not going by the water. That's right.
Don't go by the water. No, but Jeff, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your energy and the knowledge and information you shared with us. We would love to have you join us on events in the future. Thanks for the work you did for TAG. Thanks for what you're doing for the Heart Foundation. We appreciate all that you're doing.
Yeah, no, thank you, Charles. Thanks for all the great work you're doing with all of these organizations to help, lead in the Atlanta market. You have been a great friend and partner at Comcast, so we greatly appreciate that. Happy New Year to everyone, and looking forward to continued dialogue and wishing everyone the best.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.